So today we're at Network X 2025 in Paris, and we've managed to get a great guest on our podcast, Dave Stehlin, from the Telecoms Industry Association from the USA. On Digital Talk, we spotlight entrepreneurs, leaders, and innovators using digital tech and telecoms to drive global impact in a changing world. Uncovering the unexpected, spotlighting hidden gems, and sharing inspiring stories that shine a light on the most transformative corners of our industry. So welcome to our podcast.
Ian, it's great to be here.
And do you mind just introducing yourself and what the Telecoms Industry Association does?
Yeah, sure. So TIA is, again, the Telecom Industry Association. We've been in existence for about 90 years. And although based in Arlington, Virginia, we're a global association that both advocates for the industry with friendly governments around the world and also creates technical standards. That combination is really unique. Now, my background is I've been in telecom for over 40 years now, 41 years, since 1984. Seen a lot of change. Started off in fiber optics right after I got out of the military, and have run a publicly traded company. I've run multiple venture-backed companies as well before the past 6 years since I've been here at TIA.
Right. So that is, I mean, you say you've been from the almost, let's say, modern telecommunications have been from the inception and beyond, and it's very interesting. So I guess you've seen an awful lot of change. And as you know, our podcast is around how we can do good really in the world. So maybe you can highlight, first of all, what sort of programs that you run and what sort of standards that you're involved with. Also maybe a bit about your membership. And then if you can then maybe later on just dive down to some of the relevant projects that you think fit in with what, you know, our audience.
Yeah, we've got almost 400 different member and participating companies, from very large companies such as Nokia and Ericsson and Cisco and Apple and Qualcomm and others, to very small companies. Some join for the broad array of benefits we bring, which could be advocacy with friendly governments, as I mentioned, with U.S. state governments also, but also to be involved in creating the standards that we work on. We're agnostic to technology. So whether it's wireline or wireless or even satellite, we develop standards for all the above. And it could be everything from structured cabling in a building to the physical cell tower structures themselves. How are they built so they'll survive? To connecting hearing aids to mobile devices, a wide range of standards, even standards related to the quality of networks. So one of our divisions is called Quest Forum, which was founded in the 90s. And that's because at that time, industry was producing product that maybe wasn't of the highest quality. We started having software failures, and those software failures brought down networks around the world. So friendly governments got together with the big service providers and said, we have a problem here. You all have to fix this problem, or we, the government, will step in and tell you how to fix a problem. And nobody likes that. So the service providers, more than 100 service providers around the globe, got together with all the manufacturers and created something called TL9000, which is the industry's quality standard that we still manage today.
For which part of the network did you say?
For the entire network, whether it's core, whether it's wireless, whether it's the edge, whether it's access, all the above.
And what does the specification dictate?
Yeah, it's a process improvement standard. So how do you develop a product? How can you ensure that it's developed properly? And how can you fix problems quickly if they arise?
So this is similar to ISO 9000 standard?
It takes ISO and puts it on steroids. It's much more sophisticated than ISO.
Okay, I've not heard of that standard. I used to actually, my background was in quality management early on in my career.
Yeah, so TL9000 kind of based on the basic ISO, if you will, but then looks at it from a telecom perspective. So ISO is very generic.
Today's episode is sponsored by IFG Consulting Europe, who help operators to tap into technologies to accelerate digitization of the network, drive revenues, and reduce costs by championing promising software providers in telecoms, enterprise, and mobile markets. Go to ifgconsultingeurope.com to find out more.
So if we're looking into the current situation and standardization, if I understand it correctly, in a way, you're pooling these ideas and let's say what needs to be standardized, what needs to be improved. So your membership are driving the agenda.
It's one company, one vote. The volunteers in any of the committees are the ones that help create the standard. Once it's in draft form, we'll send it out around the world to government institutions and many others and say, give us your thoughts. And then every question that comes up or every point that comes up, we'll address. The most recent example, and I'll talk about one that we're just about ready to roll out, but the most recent one is our SCS 9001, which stands for Supply Chain Security. So security is a subset of quality. You can't have a quality product if it's not secure. So are you developing the processes with your software engineering team and with open source software and with the hardware you're using to ensure that quality is built in rather than bolted on later?
That's, particularly as you mentioned, open source. I think that's an open, what do you call it? Pandora's box of what where that starts and where that finishes.
But it also, we even look at, is the vendor itself a trusted vendor? Do they have any injunctions against it? Has that vendor caused a problem? Is the vendor owned by a foreign government, a government that's not friendly or influenced heavily? And if you can't pass that high-level corporate structure proving that you're a trusted supplier, we're not even going to dive into your ability to provide trusted parts or equipment.
So do the people, I guess it's mainly the vendors, say plus supply chain, so it's vendors and the chain of vendors.
Yep.
Do people self-certify or is there certification?
Third-party certification. That's part of the thing is you can't self-certify trust. How do you verify that you're telling me the truth? That's why you bring in a third party with, we use accreditation bodies, international accreditation bodies, and then international certification bodies that go in and do that analysis.
So that's processes and it's say quality management. Are there any other areas which are relevant to, I'm thinking of the area of energy management. I mean, that's key. I think is 80% of on the mobile side of spend is on RAN and also equivalent energy is on the RAN. So there's opportunities to do there. But have you got any initiatives from your membership that are driving, projects which as I say, can help?
Absolutely. There's no doubt that as we lean into this next generation of connectivity, it's all about AI, it's all about data centers, it's all about power-hungry GPUs. So we as a world society starting to realize that energy consumption is a major issue. So what we've done is we've got two sets of standards. One has been in place, another is about to roll out on data centers as well. And it's we have already certified 650 data centers around the world, most outside the U.S., the great majority outside the U.S. And it's looking at how a data center is designed. It's looking at how it's built, and it's looking at how it's run. So the design phase, the building phase, the running phase. And then energy consumption is a major component of that. How effective are you in the use of your energy consumption?
One of our most recent episodes was in the UK, a company that's providing their spare energy for a swimming pool, a municipal swimming pool. So that sort of cross-pollination between the need of the data center and the local community, and maybe even the source. We talked to someone yesterday who was actually from Scandinavia, where they're hydro-powered in the first place. So the hydropower is then the power for the data center, which then is also municipal energy and all that. So a full use. That's a great one. And what about things like one of the other challenges I think is sort of the unconnected. Yes. And trying to get trying to reach rural areas and difficult areas. Can you do some work in that area?
Yeah. I'll tell you what we've already been doing. So, for example, in the United States, maybe. First of all, the definition of broadband changes over time. Right. What was acceptable broadband 10 years ago is nowhere near acceptable today. So that's something that you're constantly raising the bar. So now we're leaning into about a gigabit down and half a gigabit up, right? So that's kind of becoming the next version of defined broadband. So how do you provide that to rural America, for example, where maybe 10% don't have acceptable broadband? So the United States government started something called the BEAD program, It's a $40+ billion program to help bring broadband to those that today don't have it. The money gets doled out to the states. The states manage the process with the service providers. And it could be fiber, it could be wireless, it could be satellite, depending on what makes sense in that environment, in those environments. But one of the big things that we've been working on there is workforce development. There's a real shortage of those to construct networks around the world. In the United States for sure, but definitely around the world. What was a fun, good, growing job 30, 40 years ago is now not. So many people are not going into those roles. A big challenge you have in the United States, for example, is most people think I have to go to college and then I'm going to get a great job. Well, trades are what's really important as well, whether it's construction or plumbing or electricians. Those are fantastic jobs and fantastic careers that don't necessarily get pushed out by the next technology. Right. 5 years ago, everyone was saying you need to go to school and become a coder. Well, along comes AI. And guess what? Coders are in a different world today than just 5 years ago. But you still need plumbers, electricians, and all the above.
I'm thinking of riggers as well. I think that would be an interesting job. If you're a climber, off you go and do some rigging. And that's a challenging job and an interesting job.
So we started a new program called Broadband Nation. And the intent is to attract, train, and deliver that next generation of talent. So you can go to our broadbandnation.org website and see what these jobs are all about. A day in the life of a fiber splicer, for example. And then you can go and figure out where I can go locally to get trained, what community colleges, et cetera, and then where I can go locally to get a job. We have more than 6,000 jobs already on the site. And
you raised such an important point that career paths, right? People do not, when they're in college or even at school, ever go, I'm going to rig or I'm going to be a fiber splitter or whatever it might be, and being able to give them that perspective and it's a decent job and then their parents think it's a decent job and their community and respect as well, of course, because you want to do that. That's actually hugely important. I was last week at the ETSI event, security event in Nice, and it was also a question of being actually, a security expert is also one of those areas that you don't think of it initially at college for telecoms. So I think there's a whole area there.
So we've been expanding our Broadband Nation program to not just include splicers and construction people and tower climbers, but also for data center installers and cyber and supply chain security experts. So those types of jobs will be listed on the site as well.
And are there programs driven by you or from the colleges, or is there sort of a formal way of getting qualifications?
Yeah, it's primarily through the colleges, but we work with them so that they can find trainers, perhaps somebody recently retired as a fiber splicer but still wants to give back. And they'll go and they'll teach at a community college, for example, on how to splice.
Fantastic. Okay, so we're at the Network X exhibition, and have you been here for a few days so far? It's the second day.
I just got here yesterday.
Got here yesterday. And is this your first time at Network X?
First time at Network X. I've been to some of the other events that used to before Network X came about.
Right. And what's your takeaway from the event?
It's a good mix. It's a combination of various technologies. So that's one of the beauties of the way they laid it out is AI, broadband, IP, and optical. They've split it up, and you have a good mix of different technologies, but all these things that build networks, very important.
Have you heard any nugget or any particular soundbite from someone? I mean, I've personally been surprised at the opening speech yesterday. Most of the events I've been to recently, it's been AI. The actual opening yesterday from Omdia, from Dario, was actually, I don't think he hardly mentioned AI on the side, but obviously as an enabler, rather than it's the panacea. So any takeaways from your side?
Yeah, I think I'd say the same thing. AI is something that comes out the back end of building great networks. So that's really what we're focused on, is building networks, not just for today, but for tomorrow.
So other than your day job, which sounds fascinating and very broad, what do you think are the most pressing issues that we should be looking at?
Yeah, I think it's network security. First of all, everything is connected these days, and you might think your home is connected. Well, look into your home. It might be your refrigerator. It could be your video doorbell. It could be even your light bulb. So people today have these color-changing light bulbs, and you use Bluetooth from your phone to make it go from red to blue to green. Well, how does that work? And where does that information go? So it goes from your phone to this light bulb, and the light bulb can speak back to your home router and then go somewhere in the cloud. Do we know where that's going? And we ought to be really concerned about something at that level, or even critical networks such as power and grid networks or water supply networks. Everything is connected these days. So if we're not thinking heavily about security, we're going to have a real problem in the future.
Totally agree. And I think people are asking the question, a disaster, what is it, what you need first? And some clever person said, actually, it's my mobile phone, because I can live without water for a few hours. I can live without other things, food for a while. But actually knowing in a disaster where's what, how can I get at things, has almost become a critical necessity. So it's become that dominant in our lives.
But I think there's a bigger problem. It's, can you trust the network that you can trust your mobile phone? So that's what I'm saying, is in this world of connectivity, if you can't trust the networks, we have a real problem. I do want to add one more thing. I've mentioned a couple times that we're focusing more and more on data centers. So just last week, we announced a new standard that we're rolling out on data center quality. And Google, for example, is going to help us drive this new standard globally. So you can check.
Has it got a name? Has it got a name?
It's the data center quality standard. So there's nothing in the industry today. Keep it simple. The group will come up with the official name. That's how early we are, but we have the big hyperscalers that are helping us push this because they recognize this is a big issue.
We also talked about AI and the importance of it, but as I say, we were at the AI for Good Summit from the ITU, and they mentioned that Generation Alpha are going to live with AI. Any budding entrepreneurs, any ideas what they should do to get involved with AI for good?
Yeah, I think it's really making sure that you understand how important that you can't just assume trust. We're in a world right now that's getting more and more split, and we have to be very careful to ensure that the things we're buying and putting into our networks, just like the things we put into our bodies, we want to make sure that they're trusted.
Right. That's a good one. One thing we like, as we say, our podcast is doing good, and we like to give our guests the opportunity to also give a shout out for someone or an institution that they feel is doing well. Have you got something in mind?
Yeah, I would really just like to talk about TIA. We punch way above our weight class. We influence globally. We also help create standards. We have a dedicated group of people that work really hard and behind the scenes to improve networks, make them more secure, make them better for everybody.
Wow. When you punch above your weight, how big is the organization? Would you say, how much?
Well, again, we have 400 member companies and we're like 25 people.
Wow. Congratulations on that, and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
So you're now part of the Digital Talk family.
Good to be here.
And thank you for being part of our story.
Absolutely. Thank you.
We are honored to be media partners with Network X at this year's flagship event from Informa Connect, to do with all things telecommunication, which was held in Paris this October. Big news is that next year this event is moving to Vienna, so mark your diaries for the 13th to 15th of October 2026. To be one of the first to access our interesting interviews from this event with Orange and the Telecommunications Industry Association, amongst others, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and join the community by following us on LinkedIn. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned.